Yeah. Mr. President, how you dey do?
You good?
I sure say you be okay, but still won't want to send.
Thank God.
I be your son, I know for light to you.
True.
But people still they tire for Sukura to pay rent.
You know that.
I know get color pencil, it be pen I get today, but still I go draw your attention to the issues. For a price day high, doom saw still there. Dollar get wahala, I go busy on another day. Every ghetto boys they hustle to chop. Them they look heaven, but Charlie man I know the drop. If you look heaven, tire where the man I know drop. That it means say no because it draw we go chop. When the street run factory.
Welcome back to the Hip-Hop African Podcast. We did a special series of episodes recorded live with African Studies students from Howard University and George Washington University. We partnered with Words, Beats, and Life, who live streamed the interviews from their Facebook page and helped moderate many of the interviews. This episode is with Ghanaian hip-hop artist Edem, and it is moderated by Dennis Winston, editor-in-chief at the Words, Beats, and Life Journal. Lastly, take a second to follow the podcast on Twitter at HHAfrican and Words, Beats, and Life on Twitter at Words, Beats, Life. Also, subscribe to the Hip Hop African Podcast on YouTube.
All right. Welcome to the latest installment of the Hip Hop African Podcast. I'm Dennis Winston, editor-in-chief of Words, Beats, and Life, the global journal of hip hop culture. I first want to take this moment to thank Dr. Masia Kibona Clark for inviting me to take part in this awesome podcast, as well as in this course on hip hop in Africa. I also want to take the time to thank Words, Beats, and Life for letting us use their social media platforms so that we might reach as many people as possible and share the incredible work of hip hop artists who are doing incredible work on the continent and throughout the world. So without further ado, I am honored to introduce our special guest this evening, Edem. Edem is an internationally recognized hip hop and hip life artist from Ghana. Coming from Ghana's Volta Regime, he's one of the first hip hop artists to begin rapping in Ewe. His music is a mix of hip hop, hip life, and dancehall. He released his first album, Volta Regime, in 2009, followed by two more albums in the recent EP, Mood Swings, released last year. Throughout his career, he's collaborated with several international artists and has won or has been nominated for several music awards, including the Black Canadian Awards, the Ghana Music Awards, and the Foresight TV Music Video Awards. So as I turn it over to Dr. Clark, Edem, welcome to the Hip Hop African Podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor to be.
Yes. So, thank you again. Kind of want to repeat that. So I just want to mainly ask a few questions because I know the students have their own questions. And so I know in the past, the last time we spoke, we talked about the issue of language. And we mentioned before that you were one of the first artists to really begin rapping in Ewe. And since that time, one of the things that I've learned is really the significance of that. Like, I think I knew how important it was then, but since then, and really kind of more I've learned about language in Ghana and just kind of how so many people, when they think of Ghana, they think tree. They don't think Ghana, they don't think Ewe, they think tree. And so I think, again, wanting to look at the significance of that and wanting to ask kind of why was it for you so important to rap in Ewe? And was there kind of pushback from people who felt like, oh, it's not going to be marketable, la, 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 la. Like, was there pushback? And why was it so important for you to rap in Ewe?
Okay, so the easiest way I open it up for people globally to understand is saying that it's a similar dealing that Eminem had to engage in being a white rapper trying to break through a black dominated art, which is hip hop. So it's the same thing that I had to deal with. The fact that I needed to go the extra mile for people to believe that it was possible, because before me, it wasn't done on that global scale. I also personally believe that you have to take pride in your roots and who you are and what you believe in. And if your language is taken away from you, your identity is taken away from you. And all languages have various forms of rhyme patterns and various forms of syllables that make the rhythm sound different. And I feel that that beauty needed to be experienced. And so I had to fight my way. And also, in hindsight, I think that I didn't know at that time, but looking at it now, there was a bigger reason to it, which is trying to put confidence in the language and also make people comfortable rapping it. And I can never say this anywhere without giving credit to Hammer of the Last Two, who discovered me, who believed in me. And I say he was the only one who believed in me in a country of over 30 million people. And that is quite significant because he edged me on, he drove me all the way through until we realized the Volta Regime as a debut album.
Wow. Okay. And so then in looking at the style of music, because I know another kind of debate we've had is this whole kind of thing with hip hop. And I think one of the things that I as kind of a hip hop head, is one of those hardcore hip hop heads. And you know this, and yeah. I've definitely respected, I think, the fact that Ghana literally does its own thing. Like Ghanaian artists, they're like, okay, yeah, you guys got your hip hop thing, you're this, and that, but we're doing our own thing. And I think I really respect that artists will blend the hip hop, they'll blend the hip life, they blend the reggae, like they just whatever, they just kind of it kind of mixes, and so you can have an album with all of these styles, and it's like, so can you kind of, I guess, describe the music industry in Ghana, and then this whole also Afrobeats thing? Would you describe your music? Would you say that you also do Afrobeats?
I would say that I do music with very African influence, and yes, and that is key that I say African influence, because in as much as I'm a hip hop head, I love rap, I grew up on it. In our African space, we are into singing, drumming, and dancing from all the various tribes. They have numerous styles of music. They have, in the Volta region, they have Bobobo, they have Agbaja. The Akans have the Adowa, the Gans have their style of Panlogo. So, in as much as I'm a hip hop head, I also grew up on all these other forms of music. And some way, somehow, it's embedded in your subliminal mind. And so to escape from it entirely will be escaping from your identity as a Ghanaian. And so when you are younger, because you're looking to the West and loving hip hop, you will be a very crazy hip hop head. When you grow and you discover from the West, you would want to incorporate and also put elements of your culture and tradition into the hip hop. And I think that is where the difference comes in, and it can come in the form of maybe highlife influence, which becomes hiplife. It can come in the form of the local songs, their influence, and it can come in the form of the influence of African music, which is Afrobeat, so to speak.
Okay, all right. So I do want to let students know, if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and kind of indicate that. You put your hands up and we will call on you, because I could talk for a while and ask definitely more questions.
Yes, we have a question from Winnie.
Hi, I can't open my video for some reason, but you talked a little about incorporating African, your African culture into hip hop. Right now, Afrobeats has become so big in the continent and worldwide. Do you feel like, as an artist, you somewhat feel pressured to join that Afrobeats movement?
I don't think that I would say as an artist I feel pressured. One of the liberties we have as African artists is that we didn't grow up around this side of the world with a lot of record labels, a lot of radio stations having, let me say, playlisting and putting music in various categories, where the label will say, be a hip hop artist, be a reggae artist, be an Afrobeat artist. And so, because a lot of us are independent artists, you actually have the liberty to explore. And as a creative, I believe that once you create with limits in mind, you no longer explore your imagination. So I actually think that moving in the direction of Afrobeat is not something you should feel pressured to do. It's something that you should take pride in as an African who is also adding an extra effort to what the world knows and still bringing your unique influence of being a hip hop lover to.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? I do have a question in terms of looking at, I think, the way that West African artists, I'm going to actually be more specific. So Ghanaian artists, Nigerian artists, and then you also have South African artists have been on some of the biggest projects that have come out recently, like the Black is King project. You had pretty much all of the African creative directors on that project were either Ghanaian or Nigerian. Then on the soundtrack, you had a lot of Ghanaian, Nigerian artists. Black Panther, a lot of, So do you think it is because of...
And then now coming to America.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's Davido did a performance in the soundtracks, Techno, Burna Boy. So yeah, just to add to.
So yeah. So my people on the East Coast, we've been very, we've been very envious, and we're gonna get there. We're upping our game. We realize we have to increase. We have to up the game.
Mad love to the East, though.
Huh?
Mad love to the East.
Yeah, we got to get together, man. We definitely have to get it together. But I think one of the things that West Africa, especially Ghana and Nigeria, I think that has gotten them to that level again is because there is this, of course, and in Pidgin is Vim, this sense of we're going to do it our way. Like you said, we're going to bring our African influences, our culture. We're going to kind of mix it, and we're going to put it out there so strong that when we bring it not kind of scared or but we're bringing it with force. And so I think that has also helped contribute to getting the attention of all of these other audiences. And then, of course, there's a lot of Ghanaians and Nigerians in the US and in the UK, which also kind of helps. So do you think that in terms of this, do you think that this kind of represents something that is going to be the future, or is this something like this a trend or a fad?
Well, this is what I believe. I think there's a big future if Africans own what is happening and don't allow too much of external influence. And that is very important that we understand that. Everywhere else and anywhere in the world, they are always going to be culture vultures. And when they come into your space, they will tell the story the way they want to tell it for business purposes. And so we would need a lot of Africans in the space to be the ones to be in charge so that we own it, and then we are able to direct it and tell the story the way we want to tell it. If not, it's going to be another dawn of a big label from the West or anywhere in the world. Look at the business side of the music and forget about the cultural aspect, the impact that and the spirits it evokes and the kind of pride it brings to us as a people. And it's just a matter of time that there are going to be so many cross-cultural collaborations that the culture might be so diluted, you can't even find it when it gets to the global stage. And so we really have to fight to own it, to have record labels that have representatives who are Africans, who understand the arts and the culture. We need music directors who are from the space, and so they understand the mind of the African artists. We have to continue to work with producers who are homegrown to be able to make sure that the percussion, the drums, the congas, and everything is truly how it is played in the village they grew up in. And I think if we do that, that uniqueness is going to keep us in the space for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think also with what's happening in Europe, especially in the UK, with kind of like the grime music scene. And I think people just think, oh, okay, Black Brits. But I'm like, no, look at the history of those Black Brits. Like their families they're from Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, and they came and blended all of that stuff. So when you look at artists like Stormzy and those guys, it's, behind that is this continent and,
Yes.
And you've worked with UK artists as well too, right?
Yes, I've done stuff with Sway. One of the people I love very much for two reasons. I work with him and I also built a relationship with him, which is quite very important. And he only didn't make music with me. He also opened my eye to publishing and some of the things do right. And so he's been a bigger brother ever since. And I'm looking at doing some other collaborations in this space.
Okay. All right. So I know that in terms of if there's any questions coming from the Facebook, I know for the Facebook feed, if folks have questions, they can post them on the feed and we will read them as well. So I know that we've got somebody monitoring the Facebook feed. So if you're watching on Facebook Live and you want to post a question, we've got somebody monitoring the Facebook feed. So you can feel free to post a question there and we will read it as well. And then for students who have a question, you can also post it as well. I mean, not post it, but raise your hand and indicate that you have a question. You guys are being shy, I feel like shy today in today's class. All right. So in terms of looking at some of the more recent projects, so I know Mood Swings, that project, it seemed like it was, well, I know all your projects are important, but it seemed like that one was really kind of even, I don't know, had even more relevance. Could you kind of like discuss why that particular project was so significant for you and like what did it symbolize? Because that came out, it was in the summer, like July.
Yes. Thereabouts. So Mood Swings is, like you said, all the projects are important, but it's very sentimental because I have never really opened up about the loss of my mom when I was growing up. And so when there was COVID and everybody was on lockdown and I was by myself, I spent more time because I was always on the road. I didn't get time to access and realize that the pain of losing my mom over 2 decades ago was still there. And so when I accessed it, I decided to put together a record, put together an EP to celebrate it for two reasons. Because then it dawned on me that women are so powerful because whatever I've evolved to become is actually some of the fundamental things that my mother raised me with. And I named the album Mood Swings and I made it an album of colors because when I was growing up, my mom used to tell me that life is colors. And when you don't go through all the colors, you never get to see your rainbow. And it didn't make sense to me. And with time, when I was analyzing, I realized that when you're angry, it's actually a red color. When you're in love, it's like a soft and a pink color. When you're making money, we call it greens. And so life is colors, and all these colors represent moods, and we all go through all these things. And so I realized that women are actually the center of who we are. And it is important that I release an EP that will keep reminding women that whatever you sow or whatever you put into the life of your child, no matter how small they are, goes a very long way to shape who they become. And so it's quite critical that I celebrate this woman who left my life very early, but still was and is present in my life through my doings. And so that album and that EP is really, really dear to me. And I love that I was able to cast there in a very monumental way, that when I'm also not here, people will still remember that I celebrated a woman, and also remind other girls to impact their generation of children positive.
Okay. Dennis, did we get anything from the feed? I don't know. I saw you kind of.
Nothing yet. We have Crystal though. Crystal has her hand up, so we can.
Okay. Crystal.
Hi, you had mentioned something about culture vultures, and it kind of brought up this question of how do we weed out those who are actually appreciating the culture versus those who are being culture vultures? What are the signs we should look for? And like, as the younger generation now, what can we do to like shift from culture vultures to actually appreciating? Because, you know, there have been multiple songs out with, you know, dance trends that have been all over the world. So yeah, I guess my question is, how do we make the difference?
Well, I think that I wouldn't sit here and pretend like I have all the solutions, but from experience, one of the key things I would say is that we as African artists and the teams and the people we work with should be really, really particular about having creative control in what we want to put out, so that no matter the space we find ourselves in, no matter the rooms and the boardrooms we find ourselves in the quest to sign deals and be on the global stage, let's make sure that we don't lose our creative control, because that's the birthright we've been given, and that involves our identity, our dance, how we see life. If we are able to keep that, we are able to protect that, we are able to hold that in high esteem, I'm sure that it will give us a good winning streak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So in terms of looking at some of the artists that are out there now, I was wondering, are there a lot of other artists that are now rapping in Ewe? I mean, I know you were one of the earlier ones, but are there others now that you are listening to specifically that are rapping in Ewe? And then more broadly, who are some of the artists now that you feel are kind of like coming out that, you know, are really doing well?
Well, I mean, there are tons of people rapping in Ewe. And I'll tell you for a fact that before the advent of Edem, reality shows and TV shows that were rap-based TV shows didn't give platforms to those who rap in Ewe. But now there's a newfound confidence. And so where there are reality shows, you see other Ewe artists. So I can name Kenny Ice, who is coming up, a very talented Ewe rapper. There's Jesse, another talented Ewe rapper. There's Planet Machete. There's Pesa Boy. There's a Yoni who is also talented. So there are loads of them now, and I'm quite excited about it. Names that I also love who are emerging and doing amazing. Walasi, without a doubt. yes, it's an amazing talent. There's also Strongman, who is a good rapper. There's also another group called Wusege. They are like a whole movement from the region, and they are affiliated to us, the Nation, which is our movement. So there are a lot of people making a wave, and I think that a decade down the line of rapping in Ewe, I think that the wave is really about to start. It's about to start because now everybody has a certain level of confidence, and it looks like we are about to go stadium status with everything.
We have a question from Dupree.
Yeah, hello. So I was just wondering.
Dupree.
Hi. This was a question kind of related to what you were saying about your EP Mood Swings. So it sounded like this was kind of giving women the opportunity to kind of hone in and access their power and really, you know, see their power as females. So I was wondering, because obviously gender inequality is a big issue just kind of across the world, what impact do you think male artists can have if they created more music kind of engaging females and really allowing them to hone into their power and harness it?
Well, I think that one of the things that male artists can do is to be more accommodating of female artists so that we are able to breed a new crop. Because truth be told, it's very difficult for a lot of females to be in the front line of music. And I'm sure it's better in the West than it's on the continent. And so we should be more accommodating. Independent artists who want to take on talented artists, we should look at putting on females. And I believe that that is one of the quickest ways for them to prove their worth because they have what it takes. And once people that women have what it takes, they would automatically give them all the tools to try.
We have another question from Cayenne.
Hi, yeah, sorry, I don't know why my video is not being able to turn on, but my question for you is, oh, there it goes. You given that you rap or you make a lot of music in Ewe, and I think you've spoken about this before, I just wanted your comments on how you think that tribal politics has extended itself in Ghana into the music industry, and how you see that changing going forward. Because I know you've mentioned in the past that, you know, there's a different treatment that musicians and artists get depending on what tribe they come from. And, you know, has that changed in the last few years? And do you see that changing going forward?
Well, I think that the politics plays a very, very significant role in our space. And I'll say it without mincing words that the politicians and the parties have found a way to use tribe to divide the masses, which is a form of divide and conquer strategy that they use in order to win people to their sides. It has eaten deeply into the fiber of the youth. And so 10 years down the line of doing music, I've realized that tribalism directly or indirectly also plays a role in the music space. And I'll use facts so that anybody who speaks to it will know that it is not just an opinion. I closed a deal with a telecommunication company. And when we're closing the deal with this company, because of the region I came from, they wanted to pay me lesser than other creators around the same negotiation table, you know? And that is a very indirect way that tells that something is really happening. And another way I can mention to you is that some of the reality shows, like maybe let's say you're doing American Idol, when they go around the regions to scout for talent, sometimes they don't go to the Volta region to scout for talent, you know? And also, there are ways where event organizers try to use the region you are coming from as a bargaining chip without knowing that it's a tribal card. For example, they say, we want to give it this, you and your team this amount. You know, you're coming from here, and a lot of the masses can't identify with you, which they know is not really true. And you know that on the ground, you're equally as talented as anybody else. So some are direct, some are indirect, but I continue to speak about it unapologetically because I'm lucky to have a voice. And I feel that once I tell people and people become aware, then when they experience those things, they are better well positioned to fight them off or to take a very positive stand.
Thank you.
What about the North? Like, are there artists coming out of Northern Ghana, like Tamale and from that area?
Yes, so talking about the North, my next hip hop single features Optional King, who is from the North. His raps in entirely the Ghanaian. So I'm telling all of you guys here first, when it comes out, I just went to the north of Ghana to shoot a video just to depict the beauty of the place. There are mud huts, there are horses that they use, there are batakari. I don't know how you guys call it in the West. How do you call batakari in the West? It's like a fugu, it's like we call it a mock. It's like a very thick woven dress that people in the North wear.
I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, yes, they are talented artists. We are from the North, an amazing artist. There's Fancy Gadam from the North. There's Fadlan, a new cat who is really, really doing well. There's Macasio coming from the North. There's Chogo Boys. There are tons of them from the North. Sigley Boys and so on and so forth. And I'm glad to say that I also, this is like me tooting my own, I also contributed to artists from the North crossing over and doing collaborations for them. So when I was in the North the last time to shoot, I was enskined or installed, for lack of a better word, by the chief of Tamale as a development young man for the people of Tamale. So that anytime I come to the palace, I sit at his right side.
Nice. Yeah, I have a friend, a colleague I'm working with. She's from the North, and she was telling me that often she gets along very well with people from the Volta region because there's identification with kind of being marginalized and being treated differently, so they identify with each other. So
yeah, that's very true. And I tell people that when I say be proud of who you are, I'm not saying it that you have to be proud of who you are to be proud of your country. You have to love yourself to love other people. So if you're not proud of who you are, you can't be proud of Ghana. If you're not proud of your region, you can't be proud of Ghana. If you're not proud of Ghana, you can't be proud of Africa, you know. And if you're not proud of Africa, you can't be a proud citizen of the world. And so it's important that we know that having pride is rooted in where you come from and then blossoms to the greater globe and everybody else.
Okay. Now, I know that I do want to find out, because I know a lot of things have been happening in Ghana lately in terms of just in terms of the role, I guess, of artists as activists, artists in, you know, because Ghanaian artists have never been or are not shy about speaking their mind and voice about things.
No.
So okay. So I won't go into any controversial territory, but I just wanted to ask in general, what do you think is the role of artists in terms of because, you know, some people will say, oh, you know, just shut up and sing. We just want to be entertained. But do you feel that, I mean, not that all artists should, but do you feel that there is a role for artists in kind of like speaking to the social issues that the people are going through, the social struggles that people are going through?
Well, I believe that I can speak for every artist, but I believe that once you have a voice in this world, you should use your voice to impact people directly or indirectly, because it's very difficult to have a voice. It's extremely difficult. In as much as we call it a voice, it takes sleepless nights to get a voice. It takes people investing money in you, or you investing money in yourself to get a voice. It takes releasing albums and being on interviews and building goodwill and building a very solid brand for people to trust you. So when you get to that level, you need to use it to impact people positively. You just have to find where your strength is, and be able to do it. I also don't think that it's every issue that you have to speak to, because truth be told, you also have to think about your brand, because when you lose that brand, then you lose the voice. So you have to do it in a way it's impactful. And I don't think that it's always about talking about things on social media. You could also organize seminars for people in various communities and impact them. You could pay a visit to young entrepreneurs who are working in factories and be able to speak to them. And these are some of the things that I do, and some of them don't even come on social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, I definitely respect that. I mean, it's definitely, it's tricky. I mean, of course, even in right now, things going on in Tanzania have been divided. The country is very, very divided, including the artists. So it becomes very tricky on what to say, when to say, like, just, it's a very, very delicate stuff. But are there any other questions? Because we're at the 6 o'clock mark here, and I had promised that.
I don't see any hands and nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing on the Facebook right now.
Okay. All right. So in terms of what's coming up, I know you just released the new single. Favor, the new track. What else are you you doing? You also talked about working with the artists up north, but what else can we kind of be looking out for?
All right, so I'm going to release a lot of hip hop songs this year. Is deliberate for the rap fans to always, I think that they are my foundation. And so it's very important that I keep the foundation whilst I temper with other areas of creativity or going to other creative boundaries. So this year's an album year for me. I'm going to release official singles and unofficial singles, something we'll call street sweepers if we're in the West, And so there's going to be a lot of music this year. And on Friday, I'm releasing a song called Ewes, actually. The song is called Ewes. It's myself, features Walasi, Kini Ice, Jafinga, and Ayoni, who Walasi, is somehow in front with his brand, but Kini Ice, Ayoni, and Jafinga are also talented Ewe artists that I feel I can share my spotlight with for people to hear them. So I put them on the record and we'll put it out. And then there's going to be a lot of subsequent videos build up. And hopefully when the whole COVID and activities are back in place, we are able to hit the streets and do major concerts and do something really, really big that we've been hatching since COVID came in. Extremely big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, COVID is like, oh my gosh. I think the entertainment industry, artists, it's just been really, but I think it's forced people to find really interesting, creative ways to create and to like monetize, and like even like music videos. I've noticed that have come out since COVID are very different. Like you don't have like these massive crowds in the videos. You don't have, they're just very stylistically, the videos are different. And, you know, so it's been interesting. But you guys are creatives. I mean, that's why. So you guys are creative with it.
No, I mean, I think that people, and I'll say this to anybody on the platform, as an artist in this times, you have to be creative in a very budget-wise way, you know, because of activity. So even when you do videos, you find innovative ways to reduce your cost, but still make sure that they are globally standard videos that the fans can still enjoy. And those are some of the things. It has also pushed artists to think of ways to monetize and publish their music to be able to generate revenues without being actively on the road. Because I think for African artists, being actively on the road has been a key part of our revenue generation. And so it has shifted us to the space of monetization and generating revenue through your intellectual property without necessarily being on the road. And that's a good learning curve.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Well, I definitely want to thank you. I mean, it's definitely been great. It's always great, you know, having you on and getting to, you know, catch up and seeing the stuff, you know, whatever the latest projects. It's always, you know, it's definitely always great to catch up. So thank you for coming on, and, you know, definitely Dennis, I don't know if you had some.
No, I'm just really happy to hear a lot of what I've heard this evening, especially the notion of using A-Way. You know, I'm always captivated by hip hop lyricists, and in the States, you know, a lot of artists often look to regional language practices to you know, make themselves unique, especially in the space of hip hop where, you know, the major currency is language and style and individuality. So I was really sort of impressed with that. So I'll be checking out that song A-Way when it comes out. So, but again, thank you so much for sharing your voice with us tonight.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it's also Ewa is such a tough language. I do want to also kind of say Ewa is a very difficult language. Like listening, like growing, if you grew up and you know, it's one thing, but to learn, it is. So hearing it in lyrical form, it is very impressive.
So I tell people, so I tell people the reason why it's difficult is that it is a language where everything you say ends with an O. So, and I'll use two phrases. You may get O. Or you say, Magbona low. Okay. So now when you want to transition to become a rap artist, you need to find genius ways of putting the rhyme front and rephrasing the sentences to be able to capture. So it's quite intriguing, but also the exciting thing about it is that there are words in air that rhyme with words in English or French, and so you can always play around. Like murder is an English word, but when you say seda, it means listen, it's an Ewe word. And so that's transition from an English word into Ewe, which rhymes, or it's quite exciting and intriguing for me as a creator.
Wow.
But it's a difficult thing.
No, that's amazing though. That is definitely amazing. Oh, well, thank you. I know it's getting, you know, late there. So thank you for taking the time to come on the call. I know you're very busy. So thank you for even, you know, sitting down with us.
Thank you guys for having me, and anybody who is in class. I'm really honored to be here. I want to say big love to all my fans across the globe. And if you're not following me, you can follow me on Twitter. It's I am Edem, IAMEDEM. You can follow me on Instagram. It's IAMEDEMGH. It's the same, I am Edem GH. And check out my videos on YouTube. Thank you, Sia. I really had fun. It's always fun talking to you. And thank you to the other hosts. I appreciate it. And much love to everybody, man. Africa to the world, Ghana to the world.
Ain't gonna, this is how we speak when you're in Ghana. Ain't gonna, watch how you speak when you're in Ghana.
Eat means dunu, drink means nunu. If I say what they talk, that mean milano. Laugh means kono, waist beat juno. Be quiet, bono. I know BJ, Colo, Kendrick, Lamar. Telling you to hear me, that it mean a samar. Kendrick will say I am lyrically dope. Edem will say lyrically I'm a dope.